Good evening, guys. Good evening. Erik here again. It's Friday evening. It's, what is it? 8 o'clock, 10th of May. I think we're going to do something about confidence tonight, right? How to achieve true confidence. I just want to get started really slowly since it's 8 o'clock. People are still trickling in. Welcome Kyle, welcome Nikki, welcome Valeria, welcome Venkata. We have a big venue here. I've got this room pretty much to myself right now, which is a webinar room. But downstairs we have a big auditorium. It's got more than 1,000 seats. It's packed at the moment. That means that one of my colleagues actually had to do something else. She's normally taking care of all the chat work and technicalities and these kind of things. So for that reason, I have to pay a little bit more attention right now to my laptop right there, make sure people can actually come in to the webinar. But anyway, it's already a few minutes past 8. So welcome everybody. It's great to have you. Let me see, Valeria, we were chatting, so it's good to see your name. Thank you for coming. Venkata, I think we saw each other last Tuesday for the first time. It's great to see you again. Nikki, I think we haven't had a chat so far, had we? And you're probably here for the first time. Kyle, gosh, numerous times. It's good to have you again. Now, besides being on Zoom, we're also on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Facebook. And as always, we just want to give you very practical data, insights, stuff that you can use right away in your life. And today that is going to be about confidence. I compiled some nice data for you. I hope you will like it. For the guys who attended on Tuesday, it might be a little bit of a repetition because we used something on the mind that we're going to be using again tonight. Otherwise, there's also going to be some new topics there. Now, as you can imagine, I'm just in front of a camera. I can't see you guys. I think you guys have the cameras off. But I'm always asking this question just to get acquainted a little bit. Where are you from and why are you joining the webinar tonight? That would be nice to know. So I have a little bit of an idea what exactly you're expecting or what would you like to get out of this tonight. That's valuable. I might use that data and give it a certain twist so that I can actually answer the things that you are looking for. Me, myself, I'm Dutch. As you can hear, the accent is not very Irish or English or whatever. Been abroad for more than 20 years, lived in the Caribbean, lived in Venezuela, Mexico, Scandinavia for a number of years, then Belgium. 2 years ago, I came to Ireland. Okay, Valeria, good evening. Nikki, yes, you knew. Venkata, hi, oh, good to see you, Erik. Thank you so much. Okay, so guys, if you could just pop in the chat, why are you here? What do you expect to get out of this webinar tonight? That will be really valuable to know. And then we're simply going to get started. If you could just do me that favor quickly. What do you expect? What do you hope to get out of this webinar tonight? In other words, why are you attending? Why are you here? That'll be good to know. Okay, interesting topic. Thank you very much. In other words, you would like to know more about confidence, I suppose. Okay, Nikki, I need to improve my confidence to get my startup going. Okay, very good. I think I'm definitely going to impart some data that will be very useful for you. Anybody else, perhaps? Okay, Venkata, booster for my self-development. All right, fantastic, guys. Well, so what we're going to do tonight, I'm going to discuss 3 different topics that will lower your confidence. And anything that we do in life, anything that comes our way, anything that we want to undertake, if it's a startup, if it's a relationship, if it's, you can't think of any activity and your mind is involved. So the first thing that we're actually going to have a look at is the mind. I'm going to be using 2 books tonight. I'm going to be using the works of this gentleman here, L. Ron Hubbard. He did a lot of research in the field of the mind, made tremendous breakthroughs. He discovered precisely what it is that is holding you back and that is lowering your potential and how to fix that. It's quite revolutionary. And so tonight I'm going to give you some snippets of his works. So first of all, let's do a little mind drill, a memory drill, if you will. And this is the following. I have a question for you. Can you remember primary school? Can you remember primary school? Now, if I will bring that up, do you get a picture of the school? Can you see it from the street side? Can you see the building? Can you see the colors of the building? Can you see the windows? Can you, for example, walk through its corridors and get a glimpse of the classrooms? Or perhaps you're going to be outside and see maybe the courtyard or the playground. Perhaps you see the entrance or the exit, right, where you would come in and go out. And yes, you can remember. Okay, good. So we're actually getting pictures. Now, if we would sketch that, we get something like this. That would be your body. And what you're looking at, we would call that a mental image. So through life, you make all these images, right? You think about your pet, maybe a dog or a cat, and you have a picture. You think about a girlfriend, boyfriend, you get a picture, right? So let's do a funny drill here. Let's imagine that you are in your favorite chair in the living room in the house where you grew up as a child. Let's try to do that. Let's imagine that you're in that living room again in your favorite chair. Just let's imagine that you're there, that you're sitting there. Now here's the trick that we're going to do. It's a funny thing. I would strongly recommend you actually exercise what I'm going to ask. And that is, from where you're sitting in that room, I would like you to point to the TV. Say, you know what? I'm sitting here and the TV is over there. Just go ahead and point it out. Now, if you've done that, let's point to the table. Any table in that room. There's probably a table in the room. And you say, okay, from where I'm sitting, the table would be right there. Okay, now let's find a window in the room and see where the window is. Could be any window. Maybe there's multiple windows. So let's just pick, choose any windows. Okay, I got a window behind me. So what does this tell you? This tells you something very, very interesting. It tells you that that picture that you're looking at is actually 3-dimensional. You think about the living room, it kind of like it pops up around you. The TV will pop up, the table will pop up. You might see a window over there. You could see curtains. You could see walls. You could see the color of the wall. You could see the color of the floor. On and on and on. Now, very interestingly, it's called a mental image. So that means it's not a physical image. You cannot touch it. You can't touch it. It's a mental image. In other words, it's made up, you could say, of nothing. And that's the fun fact here. You could be certain that the TV is right there. You could be certain that the table is right there. Right? You could be certain that the kitchen is in the back of you. Okay? Now you can't touch it, like I just said, but you can experience it. So your mind is something that you can perceive and experience. Now we would actually give a depiction of what the mind is. We get something like this. So we get a whole bunch of pictures stored back in time. So from your earliest conception, from your earliest point of life, you've been actually making, recording, and accumulating these pictures. Throughout your existence, you've been making these pictures, so you never stop making them. Okay, so let's see, how do we use those pictures? Well, let's say I'm coming home, I got my keys here, and I'm just dropping my keys. Look at my watch and say, gosh, I actually wanted to go to the Super Value or the Aldi. I need to do some groceries. So now I'm actually looking for my keys because I want to leave the house. And I just realized I don't have my keys in my pocket. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to go to all these different rooms in the house and look into every corner and see if you can actually find your keys somewhere? No, that's not what you would do. You would simply use your pictures. You would look back and you would get the memory of coming home in pictures. And then you would get some pictures there where you actually, let's say you passed by a cupboard and you put your keys over there. So now your mind will tell you where to find your keys again. Does that make sense? That's how you would actually use your pictures all the time. Now, the next question here is that if this is the mind, this is the mind, and you have all these pictures. I have a question for you guys. Who or what is looking at these pictures? Maybe you want to put that in the chat. Who or what is looking at these pictures? That's the question for you guys. So you have your body, you have your mind. Now, who or what is looking at those pictures? You were just looking at pictures of primary school, then you were probably looking at pictures of the living room. Who? Okay, Kyle says the mind. Nikki says my mind. Okay. Would anybody say the brain? Just out of curiosity, would anybody say the brain? Okay, Valeria would not say the brain, right? Nikki, all right, I almost changed my answer to brain. Okay, good. Now, here's a fun fact. These pictures are not in your brain. And we actually just demonstrated that. First of all, I think we can agree these pictures are mental, so you can't touch them. They're not physical, they're not chemical. You're in your favorite chair in the living room, and you're looking around you. And you could say, well, all right, the footprint around me is such and such. The room is 4 or 5 meters wide, it's 8 meters deep, it's 3 meters high. You would say, well, the TV is about 3 meters away from me, about 2 meters away from me, there's the table. I can see the window over there. I can see its curtains. The curtains were hanging in a rail, and the window and the curtains had this certain texture. It had a stick to open the curtains and close the curtains. All these details come to your mind, but you can actually see that that picture just pops up all around you. You did not say the TV is over here. The table is in the middle of my head. The kitchen is in the back of my head. The window is here inside of my temple. You wouldn't do that, right? You just demonstrated that you're actually perceiving things about you. So it's not in the brain. The reason that many people think it is in the brain is simply because there was a theory that came out somewhere in the 1900s in Austria. And somebody had come up with a theory that the memory must be in the brain. But there was never any scientific proof. So that theory was adopted and is still believed today. Now, here's a question right away following to that experience. And that question is, do you believe that you are your body, or do you think you are something else, something more than just your body? Just share that with each other, share that with us in the chat. Do you believe you are your body? In other words, you are your brain? Or do you believe that you are something else, something more than your body? Okay, something else, something more. More, all right. Let me admit somebody here. Cool. Okay, good. So, something more. Eileen, welcome. Thank you for joining. Good. So we're agreeing now that we have actually looked at these pictures that you could be something else, something more. Well, let's call that something more just this. Let's say it is simply you. And now we have your body. You have your mind. And now we got you, which is 3 parts of man. Very interesting. This book, I'm going to show it to you again a couple of times during the seminar, and also at the end of the evening. There is actually a chapter in there which is about the mind and survival. And there's also a chapter in there in raising your consciousness. In other words, raising more about you. Okay, so what are you? Well, like we just seen, you dropped your keys somewhere, you find them back later by actually using your mind, using your pictures. So you could say, well, you are an intelligence. Right? That would certainly classify that you are an intelligence. Now, at this moment, you're probably aware of the temperature in the room. You're aware of the pressure of the seat under your legs, under your bum, the pressure in your back. You're probably aware of the sounds around you. You're aware of the amount of light that is surrounding you. So you could say you're also an awareness. And you could also call that, of course, a consciousness. Now, if you would make some gestures with your body, saying hi, for example, you would directly monitor and control your body, and you would send your energy into the body, so the body actually responds. So we could also say you are an energy. You see, you basically possess all these qualities. Now, as we just observed, looking at a picture, which is a complete nothingness and a somethingness combined, you're looking at a chair, which is obviously there in the mind, but is not there physically, yet you can perceive all its details. You can see the volume, the size, the color, and so on. That's your mind, and you as a being, you possess similar qualities, and so therefore we could also call you or ourselves spiritual beings. Now, it's been ridiculed very much in the West but probably everybody heard about these stories about people that go into the hospital for surgery, for an operation. They go out of their body, they see the whole thing from above, they record everything in pictures, and then later on they get to, and they tell the doctors and the nurses exactly what they perceived and what happened. It just tells you there's a bit more than just the body. So if you want to know more about this, the book actually tells you more about what kind of qualities you have as an individual being. Now, I have a question here. And the question is, we just looked at pictures, right? We looked at pictures of primary school. We looked at pictures of the living room. This is the question. Did looking at these pictures cause any stress, any nervousness, any discomfort? Pop that in the chat. You've been looking at classroom, courtyard, playground, primary school, living room. You've been looking at these pictures. Did that cause any stress, any nervousness, any discomfort? Please pop it in the chat while I'm wiping this out. Okay, tiny bit. No. All right. Well, thank you guys. Now, the serious question here. Did you ever go, let's say, for a job interview? Or did you ever have to do a talk on a stage or a talk in front of a group of people? Now, did that cause you any nervousness or any stress or any discomfort? Please let me know. Did you ever go to a job interview? Did you ever have to do a speech and you felt nervous or stressed or uncomfortable? Did that ever happen? Okay, I hate public speaking. Make me incredibly anxious, nervous. Thank you. Good. Anybody else? Or not yet? Okay, thank you guys. Well, so what is happening here? So if you felt nervous, if you felt stressed, there must be something there that was controlling you and you couldn't shake it. You couldn't control it back, right? So there was some kind of a force that exerted that nervousness, that stress, that negative feeling. And what it controlled was, it was controlling your body. It was controlling your mind. And it was even controlling your purposes. So let's have a look how that goes. Let's say you have to do a presentation in front of a group of people. You studied the whole thing. You knew you were going to say, you were going to give a flawless presentation. You had the whole thing studied. You had it all down cold. So it was all part of your mind. And then what happened? You actually took your notes. You went on the stage, or you went in front of a group of people, and you had your paper here, but you couldn't keep it still. And all of a sudden, your legs, they turned into spaghetti. They became very weak. You wanted to talk, but your throat became very dry. And you felt this sensation of butterflies in your stomach. So there was definitely something there that was having a very, very bad effect, a very, very bad control over your body. You couldn't shake it. You couldn't do anything about it. It controlled you. You didn't control it. Now, like I said, you studied the whole thing. You had it all memorized. And it seemed like all of a sudden, that memory was completely shut off. And all of a sudden, you didn't know any longer what you were going to say. So, that bad control also affected your mind. Now, maybe at the start, or maybe before the start, maybe a day before the start, you felt that this was a nice challenge. You really wanted to do this. And then right before you felt, I can't do this. I just can't do it. I'm nervous. I need to drink. I need to use the toilet. I just can't do it. In other words, it changed your purpose. You wanted to do it. You didn't want to do it. Let me give you another example. Let's say you want to talk to your boss because you want to have a raise in salary. And you have it all thought out. And you said to yourself, and maybe you said to your wife or your husband, or friend, boyfriend, yeah, you know what? I'm going to talk to the boss tomorrow because I think I deserve a better income. And then the next day, you get this phone call. Hey, did you talk to your boss already? No. So you're getting out of your chair, and right away, as you actually want to walk over to his office, you get this terrifying butterfly feeling in your stomach. And you say, let's do it next week. Let's just do it next week. He seems to be very busy right now. So what happened? It changed your purposes because something was there that controlled you. Good. So what was discovered? There's one part of your mind that thinks very, very analytically. Yeah. It doesn't make any mistakes. There's another part of the mind that stores all the bad experiences. It has pictures too. But these pictures, they contain pain. If you think back of a moment of losing a job, losing a possession, losing a loved one, you think back at such a moment, then you might actually re-experience the painful emotion that is in there. Now, I'm going to give you, let me see the time, I'm going to give you a very, very simple example how that part of the mind works. There's a part of your mind that just simply interferes during the moments that you're actually trying to do something constructive. That is holding you back. So a very simple example. Has anybody here ever experienced, for example, the door being shut on your fingers? Or your hand burning on a hot object like a stove? Or perhaps having eaten tainted food? Have you ever experienced one of these things, perhaps all three? Have you experienced that? The door being shut on your fingers, burning your fingers on a hot object, or eating tainted food? Okay, somebody said, ouch. Did that remind you of something? Okay, yes. All right. Okay. Thank you, Valentine. So fresh. Valeria, yes. All right. Thank you. So this is a bit real, right? Now, okay, so let's say you actually had a door shut on your finger. What would happen if you would just walk up to a door frame that had an open door, there was nobody around, and you just tried to put your fingers between the door and the frame? What would your mind do? Pop it in the chat. You're going towards the door, and you want to put your fingers between the frame and the open door. What is your mind going to tell you? Nikki, to fear it? Okay, thank you very much. Any other opinions? Take back your hand. All right. Good. Thank you very much. Any other opinions? Well, let's do another example. Let's say you had an experience with eating tainted food in the past. And now somebody comes over to you, let's say at a party or something, and offers you the same food again. What is your mind going to tell you? You've eaten tainted food in the past, maybe tainted eggs or milk, or I don't know, it could be whatever, right? Some kind of food that was tainted, and now you're being offered the same food. What is your mind going to tell you? Okay, be careful. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, so it's disgusting, right? Now, let's have a good look. Will your mind give you any kind of thoughts with what you should do? Or would it simply kind of like throw an image in your picture, throw some kind of pain at you, and kind of like make you by force pull out or pull back? Let's say you had your door shut on your fingers and you're actually going to try it again. Is your mind going to try to tell you in very reasonable ways that you should reconsider and that you might hurt yourself, also might not hurt yourself? Or would your mind try to kind of like force you to pull back? What would your mind try to do? Would it try to reason with you, or would it try to use force and make you pull back? Same thing with a tainted food. Would it just prompt some kind of like blah kind of feeling at you, telling you to pull back? Or would it try to reason with you and say, in the past, you ate something tainted that looks like this. Maybe this is tainted, but it doesn't have to be tainted. What would your mind do? Okay, instinctively, I wouldn't want to eat it again, but logically, I feel like I know the food is probably okay. My mind would reason with me, okay? Valeria, it's some reaction of the body. Yes. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Yeah, because this is actually what is happening. There is some kind of an action here, a reaction. Now, if your mind is intact, just like Nikki says, and you have some rationale, right? A part of your mind is functioning very well, and you might actually be able to reason. Now, in some circumstances, there's no reasoning, and all of a sudden this thing kicks in. Okay, so no big deal if you're going to put your hand between a doorpost and a door again. All right, well, maybe it's not too bad just to pull back, right? Maybe you've been eating some tainted food. Maybe it's not so bad to not do that again. But what if you actually going for a job interview, or you want to do something very constructive? Let's say you want to talk to somebody, and your mind tells you to be afraid. Your mind tells you to have butterflies. Your mind tells you that it's not going to go anywhere. It's going to have a bad ending. You won't be able to do it. You feel very, very insecure. The outcome is going to be negative. Let's say your mind is just going to throw all that at you, and controlling your body, your mind, and the outcome. Now it is no longer rational, isn't it? So I have a question for you guys. Do you run into any type of situation in your life that causes you discomfort or stress or nervousness? Please pop that in the chat. So you run into any situation in your life, maybe with regards to work, relationships, finances, your own health. Gosh, just make it up. Is there any kind of situation in your life that makes you feel stressed and uncomfortable? What kind of situation in your life causes that to happen? Bombing, okay? As in a war zone, I suppose. Okay, expressing myself to the boss. Thank you very much, Valentine. Valentine. Okay, a job interview on Thursday. Okay, well, does that cause you stress already? Or does that cause you some discomfort already? Yes. Okay, good. All right, so now, this is the key thing. Do you have the power of choice? Do you have the power of choice to choose if you want to be stressed or if you don't want to be stressed? In other words, is there something going on your mind that runs on full automatic? Or can you say, okay, it's perfect to be nervous. I want to be nervous. Or you can choose, no, this time I don't want to be nervous. Do you have that power of choice? And I guess you're with me. You do not have that power of choice. So now, that's the key thing. If you don't have that power of choice, you cannot really be yourself, right? You're going to go to that job interview. You're going to feel insecure. You're going to feel nervous. Part of your mind is wiped out. You study what you wanted to ask. You study what you wanted to say. All of a sudden, you don't know anymore. You're going to be on the timid side. I'm just exaggerating, but it could happen, right? So something is there definitely throwing all kinds of bad stuff at you. Now, imagine for the first time ever in history, it's actually been discovered what that is and how to undo that. That's quite a major breakthrough, because if the situation like I just described, in a situation that you are doing a speech, having a difficult conversation, doing a job interview, can you use your full potential? Can you be truly you, yourself, when that thing is there? As long as there's something there that controls your body, your mind, your thoughts, your purposes, can you use your full potential? If you want to let me know in the chat. No, exactly. You cannot use your full potential. Does that actually lower your confidence? Yes. So that's the first thing I want to share with you. There's something there which is called the reactive mind. which is the source of all your trouble. And that will actually lower your confidence. Now, like I said, Mr. Hubbard, he did a lot of research into the field of the mind. He discovered exactly what the mechanism is and actually how to get rid of that. And now for the first time in history, you can actually raise your IQ, you can raise your confidence, you can raise your abilities in life quite dramatically, quite fast. Good. Like I said, I'm just going to give you snippets. We're going to go to the next chapter. I might be a little bit longer today. If that's fine with you on the Friday evening, you're not sitting in the pubs. So maybe you're okay if it's going to last another 10 minutes longer. Let me put some strain. Okay. All right, I want to take you to another chapter. I'm going to show that to you in a moment. Let me see what I have for myself, just some following some notes. Good, let's say here we have Joe. There's Joe. Joe is going to the mailbox. And he finds himself an envelope with very positive news. What is going to happen to Joe emotionally? That's my question for you guys. What is going to happen to Joe emotionally? He got some very, very positive news in the mailbox. What is going to happen? Nikki, all right, thank you. Excitement. Yeah. Anybody else? What's going to happen to Joe? How is he going to feel emotionally? Joy. Okay, good. Thank you. So we could probably conclude Joe is going up, right? There's something there that lifts him up, correct? So his emotional state would improve, right? All right, now likewise, let's say the next day, he's going to the mailbox. And now he finds a letter that is very, very negative. All right, what is going to happen to Joe's emotions? He got some very negative, some very bad news. What is going to happen to Joe emotionally? Right, poor Joe. Okay. Who wants to share, guys? What is going to happen? What's going to happen to Joe emotionally? Is he going to be uplifted? Or is something else going to happen? Well, I guess everybody can guess that, right? Emotionally, he's going to go into a dip, right? Okay, now what if there's people who deal... You probably know these people. You probably know some friends. Let me do another color. If you're lucky enough, you have some friends who deal in compliments, who support your cause, who like to see you happy, who like to see you doing well, who are there for you to help you when you need some help. So if you're lucky enough, you have these people around you. In other words, people who deal in positivity. Now, likewise, you could be unhappy. And you might have people around you that happen to be more negative. Never a compliment. It's always sour. You get the latest edition of the bad news on the planet. Have you heard that they're going to raise taxes? Have you heard that they're going to dismiss people in the company again? You know? And these people might pretend to be your friend, but actually they've got that effect upon you. So now, what is going to happen when you're dealing with these two types of people? Well, if it's Joe, Joe is going to do this. He's going to have ups and he's going to have downs. So now, when you get a mixture of these two, you get ups and downs in life. Something good happens, you go up. Something bad happens, you go down. You get some constructive communication, you might go up. You get some negative, destructive communication, and you're going to go down. And again, Mr. Hubbard did a lot of research on that, and there's a particular chapter in the book that is called the antisocial personality. And so I'm just going to read you a couple of quotes here. There are certain characteristics and mental attitudes which cause about 20% of a race to oppose violently any betterment activity or group. Such people are known to have antisocial tendencies. When a legal or political structure of a country becomes such as to favor such personalities in positions of trust, then all the civilizing organizations of the country become suppressed, and a barbarism of criminality and economic duress ensues. Crime and criminal acts are perpetrated by antisocial personalities. Inmates of institutions commonly trace their state back to contact with such personalities. All right, so, and here's the fascinating thing. As they only comprise 20% of the population, which is 1 out of 5, and as only 2.5% of this 20% are truly dangerous, we see that with a very small amount of effort, we could considerably better the state of society. Now, well-known, even stellar examples of such a personality are, of course, Napoleon and Hitler. This, of course, there's a whole bunch of names. Stalin, perhaps, Pol Pot, you know, all the famous dictators, famous criminals, you know them. However, this is the case. With such a cast of characters in history, we neglect the less stellar examples and do not perceive that such personalities exist in current life, very common, often undetected. When we trace the cause of a failing business, we will inevitably discover somewhere in its ranks the antisocial personality hard at work. When life becomes rough and is failing, a careful review of the area by a trained observer will detect one or more such personalities hard at work. It's important then to examine and list the attributes of the antisocial personality. Now, in the book, you're going to find 12 very, very exact attributes that an antisocial personality has. So one, for example, is that such a person deals mainly in bad news, in critical or hostile remarks, in invalidation and general suppression. Surrounding such a personality, we find cowed or ill associates or friends who, when not driven actually insane, are yet behaving in a crippled manner in life, failing not succeeding. Such people make trouble for others. Okay, now, what I've just been showing you here, who has actually seen this in life? Who has seen in life the anti-social personality? Who has actually seen the, doing ups and downs in life? Who has actually witnessed that? Nikki, thank you very much from Zimbabwe. That is amazing. I was very close to your country last week. I went to South Africa. But I would definitely do a visit next time. Okay, so who has actually seen that individual? Critical remarks, pulling you down, never a compliment, never any real support. Whenever you're in contact with that person, you might feel drained, you might feel a lack of energy, you might actually have more self-doubt, and you're doing ups and downs. Who has seen this, guys? Are we still awake, or is it Friday? Okay, I think I've actually been that person when I've been depressed. Yeah, well, okay, that is quite okay. This is what happens when we do ups and downs. Now, if you've been depressed, the question here is, have you been suppressed? Like something was pressing you down, the economic circumstances, the political circumstances, maybe other people pressing you down, making your life really difficult, impossible, or were you depressed simply because of your own doing? That's of course the question. Anyway, so when I wanted to bipolar, okay, understood. That is ups and downs. That is roller coastering. The reason for being bipolar, the reason for doing ups and downs, is actually in the book, No Stunt on Life. There is a chapter about the social, anti-social personality connection. It tells you exactly how they interact and what you can do to get out of that roller coaster in your life. There's more data on this in this booklet, which is called The Cause of Suppression, where you actually not only know or learn how to recognize the antisocial personality, but also find solutions and getting the tools to handle these type of situations. I just wanted to give you one more example tonight, and that is basically, I'm already headed towards the next chapter. Here, this is a very, very key thing. If you are connected with this type of personality that has impulses to bring other people at a lower level than where he is himself. In other words, he wants to keep you ignorant, unknowing. He wants to make sure that at all times he stays on top of you and you're lower. Then you have somebody in your vicinity who is trying to suppress you. And when that happens, obviously that is going to affect your own self-confidence. Let's say, for example, you say something like, hey, I forgot my keys. That person would probably jump on it and tell you, yeah, you know what? I see that you do that all the time. I see that you're very good at losing your keys. You seem to do that very often. Now you're going to look in your own mind and say, well, actually he has a point. He has a point because I do forget my keys a lot. and now you've actually reduced yourself simply because you had a quote-unquote friend who clearly wanted to point that out to you, that there's something negative about you. If you had a good friend, that good friend would not do that. In other words, if you know your friends with who you're connected, that would actually either help your confidence or it would actually reduce your confidence. So in other words, if you know what you're dealing with, has a tremendous importance of your confidence about yourself in life. One more thing about confidence. Okay, Valentine, I just feel drained when I'm with some people. They don't negatively compliment me or something, but I just feel down. All right, good. Yeah, all I can say is that you would actually need to have more data about life. Just like a mechanic needs to have his data on cars and his data on engines, likewise, we need to have information to know what life is all about and how to deal with life and others in general. The book here is going to give you like 15 different chapters. You got chapters on knowing who you can trust. You got chapters on what's behind any conflict. You got a chapter on how to improve relationships, on how to remedy relationships, on how to improve communication, on how to be more efficient, how to be more organized, how to make a choice in any given decision, how to make good choices, or you could also say how to come to an optimum decision in any given situation of doubt. There's a lot of technology actually in the book. You could see it as a toolbox. And I'm actually going to take one more example, which is page 237. And I'm going to give you a sketch here. Let's imagine Joe and Marie, and they're a couple, and they're in love. Now Joe is going to go to some kind of a bachelor's party, and he's going to go with his friends. But then at that bachelor's party, he meets later on another lady from high school. So here he is. So let's say he meets Janet, and he really had a crush on Janet, but it was an unspoken crush on Janet. He always liked her very much. He was always very, very curious about her. He always wanted to talk with her, but he never reached. And now at that party, they're actually meeting each other, and now she's approaching Joe, and she's telling him that she always had a crush on him. So obviously they get a few beers. They're in the Temptation Bar or Temple Bar, whatever it's called, and they get a bit close. So before you know, there's some hugs going on, and towards the end of the evening, you get a little kiss here, and Joe realizes that he just went one step too far. He also realized he has to go home, so he goes home But he sees it's already 4 a.m. in the morning. And here's Marie. She's already tucked in bed. Now Joe wants to get in bed. But at that moment, Marie is awake and she says, "Why are you so late?" All right. So my question for you guys is, does Joe want to give her an honest answer? Does Joe want to give her an honest answer? That's my question. Valentine, okay, you say no. All right. Anybody else? What do you guys think? Is he going to give an honest answer to Marie? Maybe, right. Okay. Well, let me rephrase that question. What would the average guy do? What would the average guy do? Is the average guy going to give an honest answer or not? Okay, so Nikki, you say he might lie. Well, I guess we all know the answer, right? What happened here is that he's making pictures in his mind. And now he's coming home. So Marie is asking him a question. And now he actually has to look at his mind. And he realizes that what he did was very much against their moral code. It was very much against the survival of their relationship. So now, just like where we started tonight, this thing here starts to become a painful experience. It starts to become a painful experience. Okay, so quite frankly, he does not really want to remember this, does he? He's quite reluctant to look at those memories again, isn't it? Now, if he doesn't really want to say the truth, is he going to, as a result, is he going to communicate more to Marie, or is he going to communicate less to Marie? Please pop that in the chat. There's something there that he would like to avoid mentioning. Now, as a result, in their relationship, right after, does Joe feel the impulse to communicate more to Marie, or does he feel the impulse to communicate less to Marie? What's your answers, guys? Okay, thank you very much. I'm thinking less communication, right? Less, okay. Now, so that has something to do with reach. If he's going to communicate more, it is easy for him to be with her and to have her in his space. If he's going to communicate less to her, he finds it more hard to be close to her. So you just indicated he's going to communicate less. In other words, what just happened here is he reduced his own power. Just by making that mistake there, he's now going to communicate less. Life is communication. Less communication means that you are less alive. So he just reduced his own power. And of course, his own confidence is going to go by the boards. Now, we've got all these incidents still in our minds. We stole some money from our parents. We broke something. We cheated. We lied. Whatever. We've all done things. And quite frankly, all these things have been stacking up in our minds. And now what happens as a result? We go through life, and sometimes something small happens, and it really blows up in our mind. It really blows up in our faces, and we make it way bigger than it is. And that is because there's these little incidents there. They have a tendency to become elephants, so to speak. Now, actually, there is a procedure for yourself to clean that up. It doesn't require any audacious measures. It doesn't require that, you have to do confessions to everybody. It can simply be cleaned up in a way that can give you a lot of relief. The book actually tells you how to do that. I'm just going to give you a final quote. And so here Mr. Hubbard says, "Years ago, I discovered and proved that man is basically good. This means that the basic personality, so without these bric-a-brac kind of things, this means that the basic personality and the basic intentions of the individual toward himself and others are good. When a person finds himself committing too many harmful acts against life, he becomes his own executioner. When he finds himself committing too many evils, then causatively, unconsciously, or unwittingly, man puts ethics in on himself by destroying himself, reducing his own power, and he does himself in without any assistance from anybody else." Now, for the first time in history, it's actually possible to escape from all these factors that will reduce your confidence and actually lift yourself up. I see that it's 10 minutes past 12. So basically, I'm going to make a very strong recommendation that if you do want to boost your confidence, get some knowledge. Knowledge is the first step to just know what you're dealing with, and it might actually give you answers to solve and improve conditions. This is such a book. You just got some snippets from the book. We always do some kind of a special at the end of the webinar, and tonight it's that book, A New Slant on Life. Like I said, it's got like 15 different tools for you to improve relationships, to know who you can trust, to be more efficient, more organized, take decisions in any given situation, and also fix yourself. And tonight we're going to throw in an extra booklet for you, which is The Cause of Suppression, which is a book about, again, the social and antisocial personality, with all the technology that you need in order to spot such people and deal with them to the degree that your roller coastering ups and downs comes to an end. We have this special tonight, 17 euros for both the books, including shipping. that is for yeah, it's for Ireland and Europe. Unfortunately, I have to check if we could do that for Zimbabwe. I don't know right now, but I can check in case that you're interested. The link is going to come up now. I'm gonna just take a little sip of water. I'll let you open the link, and then if you want to ask me any questions, let's do that, and then we can end off. Oh, you're in London. Okay, good. Well, we could definitely send that to London for you. No problem. Okay, guys. So if you have seen the link, it's 13 minutes past 9. I think we're gonna keep the link alive tonight, and so you can actually avail yourself of that package with a good discount. So for sure, I think we're gonna keep that alive minimum up till 10 o'clock tonight. Is there anybody who has any questions right now? Maybe you want to know something about the mind. Maybe you want to know something about the antisocial personality, or how your own truths, honesty, how that affects you. If not, it's all good. Then, Nikki, how do we get rid of the negative buildup? Yeah, so the fun fact with the pictures, what Mr. Hubbard discovered was that you cannot erase the memory. You can't do that. So any kind of bad thing that has happened to you, you can't wipe it out, which is, in a way, is a good thing, that you cannot erase the memory. However, what you can do, what he discovered, is that you can tap the painful content from the memory. In other words, you could erase the pain, and this is something that can be done with some assistance. It's something that you could also do by yourself if you're trained. And the moment that pain is gone, you could just easily look back at all these pictures. And now that you've done that, your conscious level would be higher. So you could do that with full consciousness. And basically, it's a way to take away pain, get more consciousness, or get to a higher level of consciousness. And that goes hand in hand with your consciousness going up, your IQ going up, your ability going up. What that means is that, let's say you ate tainted food, right? Now your mind tells you every time, whenever you're presented that tainted food, that you shouldn't have it. So you're just staying away. Now, when it's cleaned up in your mind, you are now more aware of the incident. Now, the incident won't have any adverse or bad control type of effect on you. And now you have your power of choice returned, that you could decide, well, I want to eat it or I don't want to eat it. With that power of choice returned, also comes back the ability that now you can eat it, whereas before you possibly couldn't. That is the simplest example that I could give you. If you really want to know, I would strongly recommend read the book. Yeah, read the book. That is going to answer a lot of your questions. If you want to know more, by the way, what I can also do, maybe Dita is back, my colleague. She could pop in my telephone number. I'm going to give you my WhatsApp. And if you just have a personal question for me, feel free to send me a WhatsApp. I'll be happy to inform you further. Okay, the number just appeared. Anybody else has a question? I think we have another question coming up from another platform. Okay, Willie, thank you. Right, what is an antisocial personality? All right, now, so we have people in our lives that are helpful. They basically want to help. They want to support you. They like to see you do well. Okay? Now, as you can see, this planet right now is in quite some chaos. We have wars, we have drugs, we've got famine, we got human trafficking, gosh, you name them. And it's not the social type of personality that would be an offender. It's the anti-social type of personality that would be an offender. Yeah, so by antisocial, we mean it's a person who doesn't have the best interest at heart for his fellow man and is actually actively working toward a negative outcome for his fellow man. So these are people who are actively committing crimes. And these could be very small crimes, they could be bigger crimes. Now, the booklet here, also the book that I showed you here, is going to give you all the details. So, there's a chapter on the antisocial personality, and it will give you the attributes of their behavior. It tells you a lot about how they communicate. It tells you a lot about how they act, and it tells you especially why they do what they do. They have a very specific reason to keep you and other people down. Now, you will also find how to basically discover the social personality, and you will get basic terms and definitions, and you will also get the handlings, how you actually do a handling on such people. The main thing here is that antisocial personalities, they cause other people to make mistakes, to become sick, to roller coaster in their lives, and especially right now on planet Earth, this is the first thing that you need to know. It's very, very important to know what kind of people you have around you. I hope that answered your question. And if it didn't, well, once again, you know, we need data, we need information to go through life and to learn from our mistakes, not by the experience, but basically by, you know, getting information that is going to detect it the next time, so that the next time we're not going to make the same mistake. Okay, guys, I think we could probably end off. It's 20 minutes past 9. This was a bit longer than I anticipated. Nevertheless, it was fantastic to have you guys. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for your answers. It's been all great. Like I said, you can always reach out to me on my WhatsApp number. The link is going to stay active till roughly 10 o'clock, perhaps even later. Here's the link again. And Tuesday is going to be another webinar. Don't know out the top of my head, but have a look at the Eventbrite, and we'll hope to see you again. For now, I wish you a great rest of your Friday evening. Have a fantastic weekend, and perhaps till next time. Ciao.